Are we rolling? Is everything good? We're rolling. All right. Miss Kuki, welcome back again to the podcast. It's great to have you in the studio in person this time.
Thank you, Rich. It's great to be here, respecting the physical distance, but it feels good to be back. So thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. So let's get right into it. First things first, congratulations on the trails. With the beaches getting shut, I think more people went and used the trails than ever before, and there's a higher level of appreciation. So thank you for that, and that's really cool.
It's been really cool to get a lot of messages from people, to the NCA emails and Facebook and all social media saying thank you for having the trails. And they're amazing. They're really cool. And we actually took a lot of care of not promoting them. We never promoted them while this quarantine time that we are, since the coronavirus emergency started, because, the regulations were very clear at the beginning and stay home.
Well, at first, everybody needed to sit tight, but as that opened up a little bit, I started hearing and seeing on social media a lot of people
people are using it, and they're great. We actually installed the trail signs at the entrances. That had been a project going on for a long, long time. We just did a pilot, so we're still doing more entrances. And we have beautiful new signage. We have a commission that had been working. We met, I think it was twice before the coronavirus thing started. So there is a nice group of volunteers: Aaron, Chris Johnson, Natalia, Juanpa, who works at El Chivo. They're all, we're getting together and we're trying to figure it out. And I think people are seeing it more clearly now. How the trails cannot be only for, recreational walks, but how they could really be one of the main sources of mobility in Nosara.
Whoa.
So, what we have in mind is a main route that would go basically from where the trail starts close to Bodhi Tree, through Guiones, coming out around Five Corners in Pelada. And then that's the tricky part. We're going to need a little bit of a bicycle route, which I'm very hopeful that we can get. And then it will go into the river dike. Because if you think about it, the river dike, it's almost like a path.
Well, yeah.
And so the whole idea is that, yes, imagine if people who visit here or that live in Guiones know that they can go all the way to the bank or to the grocery store without using a car. So now we're thinking about how the trails can have a surface that it's usable all year round, because as you know, rain started. We had really strong rains 2 nights ago. Mm-hmm. And then it starts to get really muddy and people don't use it that much. So
that was my next question. So now that the rains have begun, attention and use of the pathways are going to go down a great deal. Or are you guys going to start maintaining the paths a little bit so that they can be used during the rainy season?
Yes, we're consulting, and I have to say thank you to Esfera and Loop Design Firm, that it's a sustainability consulting firm that they have donated their services to help us define what is the best way that we can create a path that has the minimum impact. But yeah, we have to just be very careful about what's the cost of that. Because right now it's not the best scenario to go out on fundraising, right? So
you read my mind. I was just about to say, now is definitely a tough time to go out and fundraise. Actually, I want to talk about the beaches. That's a big source of controversy right now. This is the touchy subject. A lot of people feel it's extremely unfair that our beaches didn't get open, but then at the same time, a lot of people want our beaches to remain closed. On the beaches, a lot of people are emotional, both directions. Fill me in from the NCA's stance, and then I also want to know your personal opinion.
We've gotten both. As you know, the NCA started a petition, and our goal with this petition was to be to show the Ministry of Health and to show the presidency that our community doesn't want to use the beach because, people are going to just be there all the time, but it's more about exercise, right? And I think that what the government is doing is great. They decided to open the beaches from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., which is 3 hours. And surfing is very safe. If you go on the beach running by yourself, it's very safe. So what's important is that people respect social distancing. And, in the rest of the country, people are being encouraged and allowed to go out bicycle, to go out running. So it's more of, I feel like, a technicality. And, we started this petition kind of with the aim. And if you look at the comments, which I love, people are really saying really, we're going to be really respectful. It's a matter of mental health that people need to get out. But we got in both positive and negative comments on that. Some people, it's just a very sensitive subject. Some people want the beach to stay completely closed. And, when you think about it, the whole reason about closing the beaches from the beginning was to disencourage traveling, which is what we need to do right now. Like people coming from San Jose that had the higher amount of cases of coronavirus into Nosara and, affecting the area. That is the reason. And you think about it, it was also right before Semana Santa, which is a lot of national traveling. So that is why everything was closed. So I think the government is really, really smart and careful into slowly testing. And that's why they said only 3 hours. Of course, it was a shock specifically for our community not to be open about our beaches.
Can I pause you there and ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you explain why our beaches were not opened along with all the rest of the country?
Yes.
I think there's some confusion on that.
Yes.
And just talk us through that a little bit. As you know, there's a lot of opinions going
absolutely
both ways. A lot of people are really upset. And then
our beaches, before being there are beaches, but on top of that, they're a protected area. And so let's just keep in our minds that Costa Rica has a national system of protected areas. All the protected areas are managed by SINAC. It's an acronym in Spanish, but SINAC, Sistema Nacional de Áreas de Conservación. That's how they call it, conservation areas. So within SINAC, there are different categories. We are a refuge, but overall what we are is a protected area. So when they say the beaches are open, it's all the other beaches that are normally managed, by municipalities. Our beach is managed by SINAC and it has a different level of protection. And in order for it to be open, it needs to have clear protocols of how to manage the visitation of people, right? So what happened was when on Monday we learned that beaches were opening, but the Austin Wildlife Refuge was not opening, we reached out to the administration of the Austin Wildlife Refuge. For many, many years, the NCA has had a very good relationship with the administration because we're part of CIMACO, which is the Commission for the Co-Management of the Austin Wildlife Refuge. And it's this forum where the administration of the refuge meets with different organized groups and government institutions.
So does this mean that NCA does officially have a stance on this?
We're part of CIMACO. CIMACO is not going to define it. What we can do as NCA is offer our help to make sure that the safety protocols are in place and are being, what's the word in English?
Enforced,
thank you. And are being enforced. And that is what we did. The whole idea is that we can cooperate to make sure that there's enforcement on the safety protocols.
What about the dates? Can you tell us, I guess, the NCA stance on the dates? Should the beaches be open with all the other beaches or should we not? Does the NCA have an opinion? And then I'm also asking you, do you personally have an opinion?
I think it would be ideal if we were able to open when everybody else is opening on Monday. We already got a response from the government and we actually published it on our social media yesterday where they're saying June 1st. We co-created together with the administration the protocol, right? And we included our help in it. Like the community of Nosara will help to make sure that this is reinforced. The protocol was sent to the Ministry of Environment. And now we need to hear a response from them. My guess is that, same as us, there's many more communities that are also sending their proposals. So ideally, they will review it and open it before June 1st. Now we know that June 1st for sure. But, if we get the good news that it's going to be before, then that's great.
Okay. Now, your personal opinion.
My personal opinion, let me see. It's fair. It's a complicated word. I think it was just not convenient, If there's more people who can help, the best thing that you can do is go directly to the source, look about the reasons why it's not happening. Am I going to go to the beach? I don't know. I'm not a surfer. So maybe I'll go do my walks, but then I also have dogs. I'd rather do my walks on the trails because I have dogs. Because you know how that goes. I cannot go with them. That's another subject. So I would probably, maybe I'll take a couple of beach walks by myself or with my husband.
So the beach thing's not, the exact date's not as big a deal for you.
Yeah.
Personally, because you're not a surfer or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not desperate to go to the beach.
But it sounds like the NCA as an organization, you're stating wants them to be open as soon as possible and is trying to help with that.
As long as it's compliant with the Ministry health guidelines, right? In a responsible way. But this is something that is clearly important for our membership. And I have to say, not all the membership is in favor. We got some emails from membership that are not in favor of the NCAA board supporting this.
Well, this is an interesting conversation because you're an environmental organization. Humans aren't necessarily good for the planet. Bringing humans to our good waves might bring humans from other locations, right? And that's the argument. And that's why some people don't want to open the beaches, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes. But, that's where we need to find the balance, I guess, because there's going to be a new normal. And I think this is an opportunity, a great opportunity for the world. I've been here talking to you about how this is the decade of regeneration, right? We need to meet our goals in carbon cuts in 10 years, or, there's nothing. So yes, this pandemic has been for the benefit of the environment, but, I spoke with somebody the other day and it's like, if this is also going to kill me because I have no job and no way to provide to my family. So where is the balance, right?
Well, you just nailed it. From my end, I'm getting messages right now from both sides too. Some people are saying in the last podcast, I came out and I generally don't do personal opinions, but I'm starting to do more and more. And one of my personal opinions is, well, if I feel that the beach should be open because all the other beaches are. And it seems like it's a technicality on why it's not open. So the messages that I've received that were like, hey, Rich, I was really disappointed that you said you wanted the beaches to be open. I thought more of you, and I appreciate that feedback. And then I also got messages that sent and said, thanks for speaking up and actually saying that it's not fair that our beaches aren't open. My business is about to go under. I'm going to have to leave. And some of these people are my friends. And I myself, I won't survive if I'm not able to earn a living. Now, I know a lot of people would like for people like me to go away. And maybe you're one of them. I don't know.
Don't go away.
But the point is, where is the line? Where's the new norm? And of course, we don't want to bring out a lot of cases and then start the restrictions again, and then we have to go backwards.
Yes.
That would be horrible. But at the same time, when do we start?
I think it's, the conversation is going.
I think there's definitely a positive that'll come out of it. It hurts to see the casualties along the way.
Yeah, it's hard.
But for people who aren't thinking about it from just an environmental perspective, we're thinking about their families. It's tough.
Yeah.
I think,
tough. Part of the conversation is to go away of thinking that this can be an environmental subject or not, or, this is environmental, this is economic, this is social. Everything is everything. And, that is the mistake that we as humanity have made in the past, thinking that we can put things in silos and just realize that if I move a piece here, that's going to move everything else. And that is what we need to accept. And the sooner that we understand that, the better it will be. So
you're right, but you're breaking rule number one again, Kuki, of making sense. And the number one rule to living out here in Nosara and surviving, you and I both have talked about this.
You're right.
Stop
trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, or of everything. You can only make sense of a couple things around here, that at best. So,
and then patience.
And then wait. And then it'll happen after you die. So, all kidding aside, no, good discussion. Thanks for all the feedback. What we can say right now as a recording is the beaches, as in inside the Refugio, will be open the 1st of June. And they're going to be the same restrictions as the rest of the country, 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. And the NCAA is supporting this. And the NCAA is even supportive of the beaches opening even sooner.
Yes, as long as we're following security protocols approved by the Ministry of Health.
Makes sense. So here's the challenge you have to deal with every day. And most people who talk to you or communicate with you might not really realize this. You're leading an organization that's controversial and doing the best that it can, right?
Yes.
But if you tick off all your members and people don't re-sign up, then that kind of messes everything up. And you guys have been on this adventure over the past several decades a couple times.
Yes.
So with the beaches opening up, do you have your membership more supporting it, or are they more against it? Because I know I got hit with messages both ways. And if little old me is getting hit, I imagine you guys are getting a lot of feedback.
I checked the petition yesterday and it had 1,500 signatures, which I think it's very... I checked it in the afternoon. It probably has more now. I think that there's a good example there of how people are really in favor and saying like, it's from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's 3 hours. and it's to exercise and we'll be responsible. And our community is saying like, we will follow the guidelines, which I think it's at the end of the day what we want to have a responsible community.
What percentage of your membership is upset with the NCA supporting the beaches getting reopened and they want the beaches to stay closed as long as possible?
We gotten not that many emails. Less than 5, maybe.
So people are supportive of the beaches reopening?
Well, we have 1,500 people signing and it's not all membership, right? It's an open petition. 1,500 people signed the petition, and so far we gotten 5 emails, which I think they're all very valid concerns, and it's important that we listen to them. And I think it's a matter of communication and explaining that it's, the 3 hours, and that what's important is that we follow, like we have been doing, what the Ministry of Health is saying. I mean,
and for everybody who wants the beaches to remain closed, for the most part, you're saying that it's kind of miscommunication. They might not understand that it's just 5 to 8 a.m.
Yes.
And only on the weekdays.
And for people to just move kind of separately. That's what they're approving, surfing or running, or just going from one place to another, but not necessarily just kind of staying there sitting in groups. I think that's also part of it.
Maybe people will hear this and it'll help clarify some of the confusion.
Hopefully, yes.
Whatnot. Kuki, I want to ask you about the Plan Regulador, because my understanding is you're one of the civil members on the committee. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some advice. People don't understand that you might be on a committee that's not the NCA speaking as that committee. I'm sorry, I can't talk. People might not understand that you're on a committee, but that doesn't necessarily mean the NCAA is that spot on the committee. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that happens a lot. Thank you for pointing that out. And I am part of several committees and boards, and that, I guess it's hard for people to just see me as, NCAA sometimes, or, recycling, or, for example, I got a call from the municipality also to be invited to be in the Climate Change Commission, which I love the idea.
Pretty excited about that.
And I got pretty excited about that. But, it's an invitation to me, not necessarily to the association. And same with the, same with the regulatory plan. I became part of the commission in November 2017. And the way that happened was because I proposed my name to the municipality of Nicoya, to the council, and they voted and I was elected. So it's not that because you're in the NCA, then you become that. Is that clear?
Oh, yes. I think I understand what you're saying. I think your PR agent should try to help people understand this part is different, because if you're president of NCA, but then you're also on the regulatory committee, obviously you're just going to say everything that the NCA thinks. And that's what people logically would think.
Of course. I understand where the confusion comes from. It's hard. And maybe I do need a PR because I've never thought about that. Now that you said that, I wonder if I can have that. I know I should probably, according to what you're saying, I do need that. Anyways.
I've told you for years you needed a PR agent.
That's too fancy. What would my parents think about that? That would be weird.
Well, you're not going to be president of the environmental organization forever. One of these days you'll be Kuki, right?
Yes. I said it before, and I'm going to just refresh it. I'm not going to run again for president of the NCA when my term is due in January. So
that this upcoming January? So
January.
You're like you have that feeling I had with the Security Council.
Oh yeah, you started announcing months. It's like, people, just so you know, this is not happening. And it's not, I enjoy it so much. I learned so much in the NCA. It's been great. It's been such a good school, and both professional and personal challenge. I think also as a human being and as a Costa Rican, that everything is so pura vida. Accepting that you're not going to be liked by everyone, it's not an easy thing, right?
You're right. That's tough.
And it's been a lesson. It's been a lesson to learn, and a lot of self work to understand that at the end of the day, if you can go to bed happy and calm because you're doing the best you can, and that you're being true to your values, then that's all you need. And my good friend Jessie told me something that, I believe in God. I don't go to church that much, but I do believe in God. And she told me one thing, and I was like, thank you for saying that. She said, God's opinion of me makes man's opinion irrelevant. And that was such a big shock for me and such a good words to receive in a time where I was, frankly, very sad because I didn't understand, right? So it's been a great lesson. But I also knew when I joined the board of the NCA that I wanted to help this organization, this wonderful organization that had done so much for Nosara, to be recognized as what it was. And if I was going to create an organization that was dependent on me, then I was not doing my job correctly. And I feel very comfortable with the staff that we have, with the board, and with the commissions. Now that we have these volunteer commissions acting and working, we should have more. That the organization is there and it's going to keep growing, and it doesn't depend on one person. And, so I'm not going to run in January. I'll for sure, I'll make sure that the moment that I step out of it, it's going to be still remain a strong organization. But, I also, I work for the Harmony. There's projects there that I need to look into it. And I also have personal projects with my husband that I want to focus on.
That's pretty cool. Well, thank you for your time and service to the community, and thanks for sharing those words about how difficult it is to sometimes not be liked. Maybe you're doing what you think's right, and someone disagrees with that, and having to come to terms with that. I just got a message yesterday from someone on the podcast who said, "Rich, I really didn't like that you came out and shared your opinion on this, and I disagree." And I thought about it, and I was like, man, that stinks. They're bummed with me, and they're upset, and they feel bad. But then at the same time, I went back and thought about it, and I was like, well, I was saying what I thought was right. Yeah. I wasn't trying to do anything wrong. It's just how I felt. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yes.
And this is bringing up a different point. I think it's interesting in small towns, if you join boards, if you become a leader, if you do speak out, you are going to get a lot of backlash. The NCA, is it perfect? Has it always been perfect all the time? No. Has a lot of weird stuff probably happened? Yeah, probably. Does that mean that it did more bad than good, or did it really do more good than bad? So I try to come back to it in those terms. It's like, hey, the past is the past. We're here today. Going forward, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And how can we make a difference starting today?
Yes,
but if I sit on my keyboard and just type about
the past, especially when you maybe were not even here. Like, I like to think that people were really trying to do the best they could with the information they had. And, looking back, maybe it wasn't the greatest decision, but they didn't know, they didn't have the possibility to look into the future and seeing that maybe their decision would age so bad.
What a point. That's like the quote of the podcast, I think. And especially back in the day, this town was so tiny. Somebody made a quote out on social media recently that said, well, if you want to have a good NCA and a good security board and a good this and a good that, you have to get out all the businessmen, all the people who work for people who own wealthy businesses, all the realtors, all the this. And you know what? That comment actually makes a lot of sense when the town's big enough and you could actually do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you will have a very, very small town and only a couple people are volunteering for the majority of the things,
of course. I mean, it's not fun to see. I think somebody posted like the same 7 people just meeting because there's no more people who would step up. And I think we just need to move from the criticism, because it's always so easy to just criticize, to the action. And if people are, in the action, they'll know. I always said that critics should be the first ones to join, because they'll see that there's nothing else but just the work. So, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories. That's not my thing.
So you're not coming on our conspiracy theory podcast?
I'm not coming on the conspiracy theories.
I've had a couple people who requested that they wanted to do some, and then come in and talk about it and explain it, why it could be real and legit. And then I've also had a couple people request to be the debunkers for conspiracy theories.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, we might. Maybe I'll have to. As long as we don't have to start fighting over...
Yeah, I'm not sure if I watch it, honestly, because there's so much information out there that what's the point of, filling your head with things just to, if when I go out to get information, I read the news every morning with a cup of coffee. I like to read a couple of national papers like the Semanario, Delfino, The Voice for regional news, and that's it. Like, you gotta just really, really, really filter it, because otherwise it's just... If you go on Facebook, then it's a trap. Then you're scrolling down I erased Facebook over a year ago from my phone, and I barely look at it. I mean, I'm still on it because there's a lot of people that I love that I don't see that much. And it's nice to get photos and updates from them. But, you know, I don't know. It's a hard one.
Yeah, social media is a weird world. I think for around here, it's good for spreading when there's a fire or when somebody needs help or something needs to happen. Mm-hmm. I think it can be a dark hole, though, when people start spitting opinions on things that they might not necessarily understand what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much all of us. So, moving on, to continue our dialogue, we've never had a pandemic before. You and I don't think we've ever sat down to talk about a pandemic.
Yeah.
So we're normally talking about other far smaller things.
I know.
In
How
the great
crazy, right?
So really weird stuff. So out of this, it seems like the food bank, Nosara Food Bank, I would think needs the biggest shout out.
Yes.
And I know you are on the inside of that, and I was going to see if you could help explain kind of what's going on a broad scale to anyone who's listening.
Yeah. Well, I have to say I'm honored to, you know, be allowed to help these amazing women who lead the food bank month to month, right? The food bank exists for over 6 years, and usually they feed around 50 families that are in extreme poverty in Nosara. Joel and Nod and Sadie Juarez, and they are my heroes. They are goddesses too. Like, these ladies are amazing. And
Hey, I really enjoyed hearing you use the term goddess, because you're a self-professed non-hippie.
Yeah.
So you must really like them.
I don't know where I heard that term before. That's probably why it's sticking in my mind.
No, I know where you heard it. One time I asked you, just messing around, we were doing a sound check or something, and I said, well, there's a lot of goddesses in Nosara, but what do you call the guys? Because you'll never hear them saying he's a god.
Yeah.
And I was just joking around with you.
We need to find that. We need to find that one out. If somebody knows, please let us know. But yeah, so when the pandemic started and the businesses started to be closed, we knew that this was going to have a big economic impact in our community. And as you know, I work for the Harmony Hotel. We were not that busy because there was no clients. And so we decided to reach out to the food bank and see how we could help them. And what we ended up doing was setting up a call center at the Harmony Hotel, where we were taking the calls for the food bank and passing the information so that they could do the vetting. It's been an amazing journey of working with 14 different community leaders. So the food bank reached out to every community: Santa Teresita, Santa Marta, Arenales. We created a group that vets the people who apply for the food bank. Businesses have supplied their information to the food bank, telling them who they lay off so that we know, because there's limited resources, right? The whole idea is that nobody goes hungry, but we have to be responsible of how we use the resources. And, you know, just to give you an idea, the program started like, okay, we're going to deliver food during 3 months: April, May, and June. The month of April, the food bank delivered 2,700 packages of food in the Nosara district. That is amazing. It's amazing because there's a lot of giving. People just really donated to the cause, and, you know, the food bank was able to buy all that food. And it's also amazing because how much people are in need. You know, this has really taken a big impact into this community. And we were talking about this a little bit before. Where's the balance? We really need to find a balance, because some people are not having a good time right now. And
yeah, you're really right. I mean, personally, I'm kind of scared on every front because people from New York and Toronto and Italy or other places that might have hot spots, they want to come here because we're not a hot spot.
Yeah.
So you get scared about that. But at the same time, if we don't open the borders, people can't work. And the food bank can't do this all the time and feed everyone all the time. It's not a full-time sustainable thing. It's for situations like this.
Yes.
And thank God for everyone coming together. But I guess it's really hard to figure out what the right decision is.
Doña Sadie from the food bank, she says that if you're a farmer, or if you know how to produce, or if you have a little bit of land, then you're blessed. And I think that's also opening our eyes, right? This used to be a very farm, land kind of place where people would grow their food, and we kind of started losing that to go work in tourism. So, this is an eye-opening of like, it would be important for each one of us to make sure that we have a beautiful garden that has some things that can feed us. So
that's such a good point, because we've moved from an agricultural society into a tourism-based society like that.
Yes. We need to go back to it. And that's also one of the things.
Or you really need to find some middle.
Yes, exactly. Find the middle there. To look at it, I'm blessed because I married a farmer. I'm ahead of you.
Long-term decision.
Yes, it's important that people know how to grow their own food. I think that we're going to see more about that. We've been in communication with efforts in Tamarindo, and from the Harmony, the Harmony Hotel is supporting an effort to make some videos of how to produce food, following a technique from Cuba. It's called organoponics. And those are going to be available for everybody soon. It's a grant that the Harmony gave but I think that's going to help people to understand that we need to produce food.
Let me know how I can help get that out there. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's this amazing man, Edward Mueller. He is the founder of the Universidad para la Cooperación Internacional, the a university in San Jose, and he is the lead point person, I would say, in the country when we talk about regenerative development. And once this started, he immediately got connected. He was already connected with different rural areas of Costa Rica, and they're producing these videos that the intention is for people to easily learn, because it's not that easy. People feel like you'll get a seed and then you're going to have a beautiful tree out of it. Just from seed to the almácigo to the small plant, it's already a challenge. If you've tried it, you know that for sure. So yeah, once they're ready, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Well, thanks to whoever and everyone who's helping making that happen. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Well, you brought up a lot of good points today. There are so many good things that are coming out of the pandemic, assuming it doesn't spring around the world and take us all down. But there's so much good coming out of it. I think a lot of people reconnected to nature and to what's real. And I think a lot of the boredom and downtime almost was like a reset button for a whole lot of people.
Yes. Hopefully we don't forget, right? So that we do actually have a new normal, not the old normal, because that was not working that well. It's a shame that we had to get to this point to wake up, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, hopefully, I don't even know what to say. Hopefully we don't have any more pandemics, and also hopefully people wake up and start thinking about reality and the long-term impact of the planet. But at the same time, I'm starting to make sense again, and it just seems like commerce and money overrun everything. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky because it's hard to get out of our patterns, how we learn, and now we're being asked and given the opportunity to do things differently. So let's work. Let's get at it. You know what I would say, as environmentally speaking, we got a lot of problems in the world. None of these things are going to be solved right away, and you need a collective effort. But if you take it to a real small scale, I think Nosara is doing a pretty good job compared to most places.
Oh, God. Let me tell you something. This is really, really cool. I went to a meeting. The mayor was here on Wednesday. Carlos Armando Martinez, the new mayor. And he put together a meeting with different organized groups of Nosara. The firefighters were there, the Kids on Library, many of them, Tortuguiones, Vive el Sueño, anyways, it was like maybe 10 organizations, which was a big room because of the distance that we have to keep now. And he came with his advisors, with 3 different advisors that were all amazing. And one of them was talking about how he could really see, and he said it like that. He says, I'm not afraid of saying it out clearly. Nosara is and should be an example, not only for the other districts of Nicoya, but for the world. And, and he said, I'm ready to learn more about what you guys have been doing, because we were joking about, name a need, and we have an organization for that here in Nosara, anything. And, the mayor was saying, through historically, because of the distance, and there has been some sort of abandon from the municipality. And, he really wants to keep fixing that, because I feel like through the past years that has been getting better and better. But they did say that the fact that we were so isolated to a certain point make the community had to source for itself and create it in itself, kind of like a new model that should be talked about and could be replicated. And even like that, his advisor Alvaro, he said, this is something that should be shared worldwide. And I think, I feel like everybody who was there, both Nosareños from, born here, Nosareños adopted land, Costa Ricans, foreigners, it was a very nice mix. We all felt very proud. And
Interesting. So do you think there's a need to go and try again to become our own city between Samara and here and have another vote? Or do you think that this new mayor is going to save the day?
We'll see what happens. I know that next year, I think it's next year that it's the term limitation, so that if the community wanted, it could be requested again. That means that the municipality has a year to prove that they can do better. And who knows, maybe, we as a community will decide if there's a need or not.
All right. So you just gently warned that new mayor, you better get busy paying attention to us.
Yeah.
Or we might try to break off again.
Well, I don't want to call it like, it's more an opportunity, not that right? So it's more an opportunity. They did said that they want to open a permanent office here in Nosara, which I think would be brilliant. Just, when Jose was coming on Thursdays, he was always full. There was a line. People were always doing everything. So I think a permanent office would be very beneficial.
Well, hey, that's good to hear, and definitely appreciated to hear that Nicoya is reaching out and trying to make it happen. But that being said, if the logistics of the whole situation just make more sense for a beach town to operate separately,
we have to look into the details. Yeah, I honestly haven't done the homework to see how much it's going to cost and everything.
You can stop with the NCA in January, and then you can go lead the separation from Nicoya next year.
How about taking it slower, maybe that?
I'm just kidding. Well, actually, we'll keep in touch.
Yeah,
let's see how that goes. What have you been doing during this time period? It's been a lot slower. You haven't been able to travel as much. What are you up to? Yeah,
the first week I was pretty much in lockdown, in the house working. We at the Harmony we started, close. I think the hotel closed around March 20th or something like that. And we've been working from home since the very beginning, and just being at home with my husband and my 2 dogs, and very much inside. Sometimes I felt like just going a little bit crazy. So we went for a couple of walks on the trails, which was such a blessing.
Hey, shout out to anyone who's doing trails. That's just a good thing.
Yeah.
If there's other people making trails places, do you guys like that too? Or
absolutely. It's great. I think that, again, another opportunity that was presented with the pandemic, it's how good it is to be able to spend it in a place like Nosara where you're surrounded by green. I have really good friends. One of my best friends lives in Basel in Switzerland. And, she's been in an apartment, and it's been quite challenging for her not to be able to go out at all. She doesn't have a balcony. And we've been talking a lot, and it's just such a blessing that you at least can breathe fresh air and walk because it's not so dense. And my other good friend lives in Madrid, and again, it's been very challenging for them, and I feel a lot for them. And I think that that's also going to make Nosara more popular because the word is going to get out for the people who spend the pandemic here, saying this was the best place to be.
Again, we're back in that weird area. As soon as you say that, I just thought of someone on a plane flying in. But at the same time, we need that person.
I trust that the Ministry of Health will be very careful, and they will open the borders when we're ready. Not before.
Guess?
I have no idea. Honestly, no idea.
I don't either. I don't.
It's tricky. You said it before. We don't have an experience on pandemics in here.
Exactly. I don't have an opinion. I don't know what the right thing is, and I'm scared from every front. I'm scared economically. I'm scared from the other side. I guess the good news that we have out of this is that compared to a month ago at this time, we know the mortality rate is a lot lower, and the situation is a little better than we thought it could have been. A month ago, we weren't really sure what was going to happen.
Yes.
So I think we should celebrate successes. And
absolutely.
Costa Rica so far definitely has been a phenomenal success.
Oh my God. Rich, you have no idea how thankful I am for our government at this point, especially because I do still very much remember our national election and what was the other candidate, which was basically an evangelical, it was basically a Bolsonaro. And I am so thankful for our presidents and our government. And please vote. I know, the U.S. is going to have an election. It's so important to have good government. Can you imagine if the other guy would have win and we have to deal with this with the other guy? Oh, yeah. So I'm super grateful every day for a president. And people can criticize them, but if you just don't forget who was the alternative.
On that note, who's going to win the presidential election this year in the States? Do you think Trump's going to win again?
Oh God, I don't. May the force be with all the USA of America, because they have a challenge ahead.
I'm just laughing because all of it's so crazy.
Yeah,
it's so weird to think about.
It's really sad, and for a long time, I read a very good article that The Voice put out about the influences of evangelical churches all in Latin America, and that is. It's so bad. Bolivia now with this crazy lady, and Brazil also. Brazil is expected to be the new kind of how do you call it? Like the hot sun for the coronavirus.
The Mecca or the hub or the.
We have a really big challenge also going on in Nicaragua. They're still denying that they have cases, and that is our biggest risk right now.
Hey, I caught some heat for that yesterday. I brought up that I was really scared about Nicaragua. You just brought up that you're really scared about Nicaragua.
Of course I am scared. And, I don't judge them, because also think about, like, what would you do for your family? If you know that in the country where you are, your family is at risk. I completely understand families trying to run. I would try to take care of my family. Of course. So it's very, very tricky and very responsible from those governments.
Someone from New York right now is planning to come here as soon as they can. And not just someone, like many someones.
Yeah.
Well, God help us all.
I hope that if they do, when they, we don't know what's going to happen. I think that the country will allow opening the borders just when it's safe. And, maybe it's a long time from now. Who knows? We're going to have to learn how to live with the anxiety of not knowing what will happen.
I think, again, I don't have any evidence for anything. This is just an opinion. I think if the beaches were open and the people who live here are able to surf and walk on the beach and just be a part of what they came here for in the first place, and the borders still remain closed, I think that would take a lot of tension. I know it would take a lot of tension out of this area.
Yeah.
Now, whether that would lead to COVID coming out here or not, I guess that's another story.
Yes. Costa Rica has never gotten community contagio comunitario, where, that means that every person who got it, they've been able to track where they got it from and find the people. So that is very positive.
That's strange. I mean, not many countries can say that.
Well, we're 5 million. I guess that's a benefit of being a small country also. But that said, the Tourism Institute, the National Tourism Institute, has already been working on a strategy to promote national tourism. That's that kind of, I'm not, I don't want to say anything, but that also should give us a lead about what's going on. I don't think that the government is thinking about opening the border soon if the whole strategy that it's being launched has to do with how to promote national tourism, to activate the tourist areas.
I guess that could be an indicator or help why some people might be mad about the beaches opening, because they don't want people to come. We all know that's why they don't want the beaches open, because they don't want people to come. But at the same time, the government's trying to promote national tourism.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, if you see how they launch the regulations that they're going to be doing, it's every 2 weeks. So that, from May 16 to June 1st. And then they're already saying like what's going to happen from June 1st to like end of June. And, they're kind of saying it, but they've also been very clear. I've been watching the press conference. The ministry says the moment that we feel like the contagio is going to back up, then we might have to press pause. So it's going to be a little bit like
of going down though, right?
Yesterday it was 15 people. So we got super low where there was 2, 3, 4 people. There's, from all the people who have gotten it in Costa Rica, there's more people who have gotten it and healed than the people who have it active. So that's a good thing. But yesterday there was 15 people, and that was kind of an escalated. Though I believe, and somebody told me, I haven't confirmed this, I probably shouldn't say it actually. There was a plane that came from Costa Ricans that were in different parts of the world. And I think that the number went up because several of the people who came on the plane had the virus. The good thing is that when people come into the plane, they still, if you remember, people who come in, they're mandatory 2 weeks of being in quarantine.
We talked about a bunch of stuff today. Kuki, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing all your knowledge. Thanks for everything that you do. I'm sure we'll be talking again sometime soon.
Sure. Thank you, Rich. Thank you for having me. It's always nice to be here.